All right, I'm going to finish out the Lake Powell Glen Canyon section. Then I'm going to do a short video on C. Gregory Crampton, who I have 3 notable books by. I'm going to do a video on Everett Ruis literature. Everett Ruis being a young artist explorer who disappeared in 1934 in the deserts of the Colorado Plateau. His donkeys tied up in Davis Gulch, an Escalante tributary in southern Utah. Okay, look here. This is a great cat. So pretty. You're beautiful. You're so pretty. No wonder your kind populated ancient temples. And you got the rats. Oh, what a beauty. Those that have eyes, let them see. There's a verse in the Bible about Prisma. Just look how beautiful this cat is. Oh, listen to that rich, luxurious purr. Alfred Hitchcock said that in a European movie, you could open a movie by cutting from clouds to clouds to clouds to clouds, and then maybe to the airplane. And, you could have establishing shots. In America, it's got to be like into the airplane right away, which is a shame because people recognize the genius of dreamier directors like Terrence Malick and Maya Deren. Prisma's a great cat, named after a great cosmic Adventure Time character. Voiced by 2 different actors, but sometimes by Kumail Nanjiani. All of the main Adventure Time show by Kumail Nanjiani, and then by another actor for the Fiona and Cake sequel series. Adventure Time is amazing. I stan it. On some level, it may be a show for kids, but it's like a work of great genius, like Love and Rockets or War and Peace or something like that. It's a huge epic work. I always say my 2 favorite television mythologies are Adventure Time and Twin Peaks, and all the sequel and supporting stuff. The best worlds just feel real. To me, when I read a great like fantasy or sci-fi work, I always like deeply feel somehow like I bet this is true somewhere. In an infinite universe, as Scientific American said in a booklet of theirs that I read and reread trying to understand it. It was about multiverses. I eventually got a handle of it and realized that it reduced down to this idea that should the universe prove to be infinite, which it might, and that's a crazy thought, so is it having limits? What is the universe? But should the universe be infinite, then an infinity of possibilities would exist within it. Your life, but this or that, different, a million times over, across deep, deep, deep time. That seems unlikely, but in some ways, what we are and how we are is all like configurations of particles that had precedence. What? Do we have free will? Maybe. Maybe there are like whirls and so on. Chances to eddy within those paths of determinism. Turn against whatever current. I feel like strong-willed personalities do that, and they create beautiful details on the like great giant artwork of history. What can you do but flow or resist? Flow or resist. I feel this very deeply. You have 2 paths. You got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, know when to run. It's the Lord's Prayer phrase too, There's some things you can change and there's some things you can't. And you got to have the wisdom to know the difference. Like, to me, that works very secularly. But I feel like nature loves art. Like, think about animals running up anytime someone plays an instrument. You know how interested animals are in music. That amazing parrot on YouTube that sings all the songs. Man, that bird's awesome. I laughed so hard the first time I saw those videos. I was like holding my sides. It's been a long time since I laughed that long. Animals have real intelligence. I've seen some crazy videos. I'm like, you tell me that's not just an alien mind. It's so windy tonight. The squirrel's watching the windy world. Trees outside be wild and real. Life. Yeah. Lake Powell books. These are the Lake Powell books left to look at. I already looked at those. Glen Canyon / Lake Powell. And related subjects, particularly geographically related. Not too many of these left, but I can tell 2 or 3 of these are going to set me off. Sorry. Or you're welcome, or whatever. Confused. What am I doing here? Why am I talking about my books on YouTube? He appears to be filling some kind of void. Desperately attempting to. I don't have any financial solutions. I'm in big trouble right now. I need to figure out my life more. I need a miracle, baby. Let's see what we got going on here. Something. What is this? What is anything? Oh, an arch. No, for real. You know that comic strip, Pogo? That guy lived in Page, Arizona, and based his backgrounds all on that the beautiful Red Rock, Colorado plateau around there. That's the thing about Lake Powell. It draws you in. It like seduces you with its beauty. Those great sprawling blue waters, and it is an environmental disaster. It's amazing. It covers so many uranium mines. It covers so many historic ancestral Puebloan and modern European sites. It went right up to the foot of Rainbow Bridge, which scandalized a lot of Navajo elders, especially if that could maybe threaten the stability of the bridge. That'd be so horrible. But it never goes quite up to it that I remember. Maybe it did. Oh, the water. I lived there. This is like some tourist booklet. What is this? Oh yeah, they gave these out at marinas. All the businesses around there. Still, ephemera eventually becomes literature of a sort. I mean, maybe right away, but you don't see it in all its context until later. But I mean, it's a beautiful area. It's really interesting. I had so many crazy experiences on that lake. One time I was basically like insane out there, and I paddled into this cove. I had been so many months of like mostly solitude, and I saw this group of kayakers, but like my brain like went insane and put the faces of my friends on these people, and I almost like cried out their names. I'm like, I can't believe you guys are here. And then I'm like, oh, I'm totally insane, having a literal mirage in the desert. The stories. I mean, just the beauty and the amazing things I saw on that trip. That's why the chapter in my book is like 250 pages long. Or I don't know, 200 pages long. You know what? I'm going to conclude these Lake Powell videos by looking at that chapter. I know I have looked at it a little bit before, but like nobody watches the old videos, and it fits with this stuff. This is going to be just a giant weird database of this one person talking about his book collection. It's the backdrop of a life. What? Who asked for this? Look at these beautiful cats. They're wondering at the weather. Actually, I think there's storms and stuff all across the country right now. Today there's a lot of rain and hail. I like it. I'm the one person that never complains. But of course, love of weather must have its limits. We all want our roofs to stay on and our properties not to flood. Oh man, I have stories that are so complicated to tell from this lake that I'm like, that's a great story, but see, how could I tell this one simply? One time back on the San Juan Arm. So most of Lake Powell is along the channel of the Colorado River, but some of it is along the San Juan River for like 75 miles when it's full, and all of the San Juan River's side canyons, which are a lot. And that's a really serpentine, crumbly red rock part of the lake where the descendants of prospectors' mules roam the rocks, braying and clattering. Oh man, that's a crazy story. One night when my friend Ray, he was out there for the middle third of the trip, so he was there for the whole San Juan Arm. Oh my gosh, we had so many misadventures and crazy things happen on the San Juan Arm. What, I could go off. That was the closest to a UFO experience I've ever had, like in a full, undeniable way. Back there at the very end, it was a government test site because there were Jeeps driving around and so on. I later found they test like B-1 bombers around there, and they have a short runway. I'm like, maybe that was it. But this seemed like something way huge. And they cleaned the beach. It was like literally swept clean. We saw evidences of it having been swept clean when we went over there the next day, because it was at the very where the San Juan River flows into Lake Powell, at the very back there. We had seen a spider. I get too many stories. I don't know. Read the book. But anyway, we'd seen a spider. Ray was freaked out. Didn't want to get bit like I'd been bit. I get bit by spiders, and I say, thank you for the venom. I appreciate it. I consider myself hazed into a spider gang. I survive it. I come out stronger. Anyway. But so we put up the tent, and it was a mesh gauzy REI tent, white. We were camped on this Red Rock area, and I could see this light blinking across the shore. I mean, yeah, look at this crazy place. What? And as far as I know, I'm the only person to ever canoe around the entire circumference of it in one go, even though I did have someone paddling with me for the middle third of it. It doesn't really set any records, but I did take a real interesting look at the place. I don't know, it is a claim. I can say that. Yeah, I canoed around the whole circumference of Lake Powell and it was almost full. Because I'm a freak. Why did I do that? I was probably influenced by Chris McCandless, who had had some canoe adventures in the Southwest, but like in California and Nevada. Definitely influenced by this magazine article I'd read in Paddler magazine, who I would later write about this trip. And there was an article about me, and it's kind of funny. But yeah, see how it floods into bays down at the bottom, and then over here, that's the San Juan arm. It goes off. I'm like, why is the water blue? It's very muddy. It's so silty. Telephone poles get carried by those flash floods sometimes. It's wild. I found some of the most interesting stuff. Anyway, we were back at the back of the San Juan Arm, yonder. Yeah, it's near Blanding, where they test those B1s I read on the internet. And Mexican Hat. Doesn't look like there's writing right there yet. No, I think it's just texture. But so I watch all these lights moving around. There's like one that moves up and down. There's a bunch of all the other ones seem to move around that one. And then suddenly the one that's moving up and down just zooms across the water, like a couple miles of water, I think, back there where the Lake Powell was still flooded, from this beach to where we were. And it became like this huge triangular craft that went really low over our tents and left the tent flapping back and forth like crazy. And it was so loud, we were yelling, and I was all, this is that thing I saw out of the corner of my eye back in that canyon. Before Ray had come, I'd seen something kind of like it. He couldn't hear me because it was like crazy loud. And then another light rolled into place and it came over again. So it happened twice and that was wild. Also memorable, back on the San Juan Arm, there was a rock slide one night and it came within inches of the tent. I think some small parts of it did hit the tent. And we got out and I swear my friend Ray and I just swore for like a while. Half an hour. We just were like, oh my gosh. Then we were all exhausted though. And so we just went back to bed. There's not many campsites in some places. But that is some crumbly rock back there. It's very serpentine. Look at like that huge bend right there. Like at that biggest bend that I think they call Gooseneck Bend, it goes like 11 miles, but it's 1/3 of a mile. We could smell a campfire when we were right here, and it was over here. But we still knew we wouldn't be to them until like, 3/4 of a day away. Can't remember how many miles in a day. It was real short sometimes. A strange thing to have in my history. Anyway, why do we have all these books? Nostalgia? No, because you wrote a thing. Here's the only other person to have done basically what I did, canoe around the circumference of Lake Powell. Let's just give it to him. I mean, he didn't complete the whole way and he had a sail, but he was out there for, I think, longer than I was out where I was. He just had a lot of bad stuff happen. He had a tent roll down a hill and all the propane bottles in it exploded and he like barely got out with his life and was found shivering in a cold snowstorm the next day by rangers or a tour boat. Man, I had some great phone conversations with him. I really wish I had a photographic memory sometime. Would it be worth it? I think so. I don't know. How about a near photographic memory? How about a memory? This is an interesting book, though, because he pretty much, aside from the introduction, edits out his personal experience. And I'm like, dude, I don't like that choice. Did something really unique. But I guess maybe, I don't know. It's kind of interesting. Maybe he had transcended ego by the end of his trip, in which case, I get it, dude. Yeah, maybe you just didn't care about sharing your dumb story anymore. Didn't I me mine, as George Harrison says, I get it. I spent a lot of time out in the crazy desert. I want to transcend ego, and I've had moments of it. One time I was listening to Sloop John B. by the Beach Boys from Pet Sounds. I totally had like an out-of-body experience. It was crazy. I think it could be explained secularly even, but just my ego died in like a moment and it was crazy. It was like completely drug-free. I was just watching the dishes in the kitchen at my old house. I did have a stroke as a teenager, but whatever. You're brain damaged. We all are probably. Ever hit your head, Anyway, it was just amazing. I was just suddenly like, whoa. I was in my kitchen. That's an amazing song. It's such a good song. Took an interesting place to get there, but wow. That sounds sparkles. But Colin Warren was an interesting guy. I think he had like a lot of pain issues later in life. When I was talking with him, he was on a bunch of stuff. I think trying to just be okay. Prescribed. He had a lot of chronic pain or something. Maybe from this trip and other stuff. I think he also, no, that's somebody else. He took beautiful pictures on film. I think it'd be cool if there was ever a movie about this part of my life to maybe give me just half of it and parallel it with his story, because he had some really cool, interesting adventures, and that place is really interesting. Maybe give it to a bunch of people. The place is crazy. I just found out about this new book called, I think, Stones of Alderan and Labyrinth. It's 2 different stories that are together, and it's about the ultimate exploration of a place. The first one's about circumambulating an island on the outer perimeter, and the second one's about the interior of it. Quest to know a place as in-depth as possible, and it's being published or republished by the New York Review of Books. I gotta get a copy, but it was like $30, and I couldn't justify it, because I am the opposite of wealthy ATM. I don't know. I feel this guy is a kindred spirit of mine. Dude, we're the only 2 people, man. If you're still alive and out there, I feel a kinship to you, and I enjoyed our phone conversations all those years ago. I have bought many copies of this book over the years. I always grab it when I see it and give them away to people that appreciate and understand the area. Because it's not an anti-Lake Powell book. In fact, it's probably more pro-Lake Powell than I feel. At least it withholds judgment. It probably does have some commentary on the sadness of what was lost and so on. How much of it is lost? Again, in reverse, it's weird, forever altered. We're a blip in the big scheme of things, humans in the big geologic picture. Lake Schmake, That was a funny little experiment the humans did. Damaging. Always good. Then it silted up. Now it's gone. The end. On with life. See also the ancient reservoir caused by a lava plug. Millions of years before. I don't know. Life's beautiful. The amazingness of what is. There should be more songs like What a Wonderful World. All the ones today are ironic, like Beautiful World from Devo, or The World's on Fire from the Housemartins. Those are kind of from my siblings' era, but I love those songs. Okay, this book's crazy to me. I love this. Let me show you this. This is wild. So this is a book all about Lake Powell. Total ephemera, the kind of thing that's almost like a PR move, pitching a place to the public a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some Bureau of Reclamation dollars here on display. But anyway, when I got this book, look at these beautiful pictures. Look at that place. This is from my old college's library. That is a total amazing. I got this from paperbackswap.com, a great book trading website that I just found out is still there, and I'm going to sign up for as soon as I have a little dough. Because you got to buy credits for postage after a bit, and postage, of course. But I'm going to use it again to refine my collection. During the time I had Paperback Swap, I so refined the collection I had then, which included some of these books. Because you can get rid of stuff and you can improve stuff. It's cool. That's an amazing cat. That's an amazing cat. Sorry, viewers of this channel. There's just going to be some cat content on here, okay? I know you came here for books. I hate to break it to you, but this channel has recently been bought out by cats.com. I mean, look how she's sitting. This is so cute. What the heck, cat? Are you an 80s toy manufacturer reincarnated? Yes, this is what all the kids will want to buy. Look how cute you are. Wonder why I have a neighbor that just quit talking to me. I bet he thinks I'm like a cop or something. Why is that guy so chatty? Gave him a book, Stoner by John Williams, which is an amazing book. He's from Missouri. I'm like, I just read the best book about a guy from Missouri. You should read it. I always give books to people. Apparently I made this guy think I'm wonder what he thinks. I'm hitting on him or something. What a nerd. What a paranoid nerd. It's true. Anyway. He's just all frosty to me now. Maybe he's just like a Harvey Picard type. He's just a crank. You gotta talk to him for 10 years first. Or a man called Uva. Anyway, some people are like that. But I thought this guy was cool. He reminded me of Lemmy from Motorhead. He's got all these garage and band patches and stuff on his stuff. I've never quite seen anyone with that style. Seems rockabilly adjacent or something. But also working class. WTF. I don't know. I think poor. Poor is the aesthetic around here. The old man points to the grave, as always. He also points to the door. This is a good reminder for me next to the door that death awaits. Not that day, but eventually for all of us. Death is a black cat that will leap into our lives. Isn't that right, squirrel? Look at you, you cutie. This poor cat is always grooming, and she's not very good at it. She leaves a lot undone, and she gets mats and stuff if I don't take care of it. She's like sporadically committed. Yeah, Jared Farmer writes well. Well, if you haven't watched my other videos, Lake Powell is a controversial reservoir in Utah and Arizona. This is it. Canoed around it long ago. It's a 2,000-mile shoreline, 1,960 miles. But this book I bought later on than when I did the bulk of my research. I bought this when I was working at UNM bookstore. When my oldest daughter was young. This was probably like 2006, 2007. Okay, yeah, this is from 2003. So this is from after I was on the lake. The reservoir, Powell Reservoir, some Glen Canyon activists call it. Like Katie Lee calls it that, Powell Reservoir. I do rage against the machine, and I raise my fist against what's wrong. However, I also think what is this is very interesting sometimes. Word by Bill McKibben. But this is about the lake getting low in the northern reaches of it, and the Colorado returning and it bouncing back. So that's like a fresh topic. I did read this. It just doesn't like, it's not as much a part of my like core texts for the area because it kind of came later. I read it while working on my chapter, which was an abridgment and a rewrite of the giant book that I had written. That's going to be a chapter in book 1, and I'll look at it later. I think the big message of this is just like, look, it's coming back. It's not so bad. Cool pictures. I love a book that mixes color photos with text. When I delivered rugs to the houses of the rich, I noticed that was the big difference between their book collections and mine. They had more big photo books, more big hardcover books and stuff. I noticed a few things, but that was one. I was always like judgmental. Except for once, I was always like, my collection's better. No, twice. One guy had a really good specific Bukowski collection. It was amazing. One person had been like an Albuquerque Journal writer, and his house was amazing. Best Lincoln County War Library I've ever seen. Oh, were I wealthy. Okay, this is about in an area where a bunch of my ancestors were living. I can't believe, man, I have so much Mormon family history, and it's all over the Blanding area too. But in this area where these Mormon settlements were, and Native Americans were still around, like Posey, this is a crazy story. Until the Dakota Access Pipeline situation, which I would say is another modern quote-unquote Indian war, the Posey War was it. This was a time when, I don't know, a bunch of stuff happened. This person started it, no one started it. But soon, I think Posey had escaped arrest, and it became a huge manhunt. But it was crazy because the Native American figures in the story... Stop! This is not a scratching post. Don't do it. No. Ugh, can't I have one nice thing? Must you destroy the couch? Don't do it. Go do something else. Yeah, I'm chasing you off. Don't scratch on that couch. Prismo's smart. Prismo's minding her own business over there. Not Prismo, baby squirrel. What am I talking? Today I signed paperwork for my son, who's 17, to get a tattoo. That's crazy. I once did that for my oldest daughter. Sunrise, sunset, Gen Z style. Like squirrel's looking for some other reading material for the Kitty Human Book Club. Anything catching your fancy? Oh, The Myth of Santa Fe by Chris Wilson. That's a very good book. Good choice, Prismo. Yeah, we'll talk about it. Anyway, in this historic story, the Native American figures were on horseback, and the white modern American figures were in cars with machine guns. There might have even been aircraft involved. So it's really crazy. I'm really surprised it hasn't been adapted into a Killers of the Flower Moons type movie yet. I was recently all over that area and thinking a lot about this. I saw a memorial marker or two about the Posey War. Yeah, this is a cool book with visuals, etc. Man, I love it when someone researches a somewhat obscure but really important historical topic. Saves it for existence. This was co-written by Pearl Baker. She's a great Western author. She wrote a book about Joseph Smith, founder of the Mormon Church, that helped shake me, called No Man Knows My History. Was that her? Yeah. That was somebody else. I don't know. I think it is her. Oh, I thought this was by John Weishaupt. Joseph Holmes. Who's that? Do I have a book by John Weishaupt? I really thought I did. I just multiverse switched over from a place where John Weishaupt wrote a book like this that I have. Where is it? Maybe he's quoted in here, the Glen Canyon Reader. Else later. 2022. No, you are the night. It's gray cloud. Why are you complaining when I pet you? You don't want to be petted? Perhaps the wind has agitated your temper. Well, there is a book by John Wyside. Apparently I'm insane and I don't have it. But I was mailing him chapters for a while, and we kind of had like a letter writing relationship. But he never quite got the book, even while he helped me. He kind of gave up on me at one point. He thought, you're trying something too literary, and you're not advanced yet or something. I can't remember what he said. Well, like, okay, so I didn't know the terminology for all the rocks and everything right away when I got there. So I thought in the telling of the story, I should just kind of describe things more vaguely up front and then get more specific as it goes on as I learn the terminology. Because that's kind of how it felt to me. Like the land was kind of becoming more concrete in some ways as I learned its history and nomenclature. But that was like unacceptable to him. I kind of think for clarity's sake, he might have been right, but it kind of changes what kind of writing it is if you can't have that kind of freedom. But I know I still have some files from him somewhere with all his comments on my writing. That's crazy cool. There's a different writer than here. What the heck? Do I not have that book anymore? I gotta tell you, when your dad has dementia, it makes you a little paranoid about stuff like this. Like, great. Is my brain a rotten piece of old liverwurst? Like, all my heroes are insane. That might not be good. Squirrel. You're an interesting figure, I'll give you that. Squirrel. Good old squirrel. She's gonna do it. She's gonna do the jump. Prismo's providing a percussive soundtrack in the litter box. Go squirrel, go squirrel, go squirrel. Oh, Neuromancer is such a good book. So is The Eden Cycle. I love that book so much. I found 2 like Goodreads. I'm not on Goodreads, but sometimes I read those reviews. 2 reviews that say The Eden Cycle is their favorite book ever. Those people get it. Friend me. Squirrel. What if like Cloud Atlas is real, and Squirrel and I have been living lives across time? Sometimes Squirrel's the cat, sometimes Squirrel's the human. Sometimes I'm the human, sometimes I'm the cat. We're always in each other's lives across deep time. Once we were all humans, once we were all cats. Love that frame. Well, this is cool, and I think it's, the canyons of Colorado. It's awesome. I know I read this once. Yeah, when I was researching Lake Powell Glen Canyon, I was reading ridiculous stuff that like nobody ever reads cover to cover, and that I appreciated, Same when I get into any topic. But like, guess I'm reading a book about this state park now. That's the research game, baby. This has been some more books about Lake Powell. What are we at? 28 minutes? That's long enough. We'll do 2 minutes of chatter to get us that nice round number. We'll allow the mentally disturbed among the listenership to schedule exactly 30 minutes in their day planner to listen to it. No, maybe they're just really organized. I saw a comment from somebody who listens to these videos while they run. I'm like, that's amazing. They're using my words as a part of an experience of bettering themselves. What's up, squirrel? Walk of shame. It's just in the litter box for like ever. Prisma. It's hard to see, but man, this thing got so beat up. Look, it's all split. It's tied together with baling wire. Some duct tape around the handle, I believe. Yep. And then Willow painted it. And there's a canoeist on with an oar on the what? Every time I'm like, that's crazy. I hear Matt Bronger singing his Inception song about dream within a dream within a dream. Wasn't that him? Who had that bit of stand-up comedy? Maybe it was Paul F. Tompkins. Yeah, I think it was. Dream within a dream? No. Ugh, I used to have a Pandora comedy station. I listened to so much comedy, it kind of blurs together sometimes. I'm blanking on this one. The premise was that, maybe it was Matt Bronger, that Jimmy Cliff had this album back in the day, and he did his own music for a movie he was in. He's like, what if that's how it was in Hollywood? And like Leonardo DiCaprio had to do a song for Inception. So I'll dream within a dream within. Very funny stuff. Yeah. Shoot, I'm blanking on who that was. But it's accurate. My canoe was even green. I think she might have asked me that detail. All right. In conclusion, I have a lot of books about Lake Powell and Glen Canyon. What was the experience of listening or watching all of these videos, did you get anything out of this? The AV Club used to have a column, Justify Your Existence. Do these videos justify their existence? I don't know. Fishing for compliments maybe, but not exactly. Genuinely curious, like, what's that experience like? The horror of being known, as some people talk about. Not an academic thing. Just an existential thing. Yeah, if you watch all the Glen Canyon Lake Powell videos and say you didn't know anything about Glen Canyon and Lake Powell, afterwards you could be like, I know a little bit about that. Someone came up to you at a party, you'd be like, blah, blah, blah. I know some things. It's like windy and the whole building is shaking and thumping and the cupboard doors are opening and closing in the kitchen. Sure hope it's windy and I'm not watching too many creepy movies. It is definitely windy. Oh, it was Squirrel trying to open a cupboard. Squirrel, you were freaking me out. You were trying to get that treat bag. I know your ways. Squirrel. You're a glutton. I get it. Who wouldn't be a glutton of life? Who wouldn't follow Pan into the woods? That sound with the rest of the skipping fools. In his book, which one was it? One of his books, Kurt Vonnegut talks about grand falloons. I think in more than one. Breakfast of Champions is the one I'm thinking of. And the idea that he'd make up terms sometimes and define them and they'd stick in culture in this that way. FOMA, had a friend who was in a band called FOMA for a while, from him. Harmless Lies Told to Children. But his idea of a grand falloon is that just every loyalty is kind of artificial. You put a circle around something and you artificially define what it is and you artificially make it like a part of a club that you owe allegiance to or something. He mocks the idea of like Indianans having loyalty outside of Indiana. In, which book was that? Cat's Cradle. That's the book that had grand falloons in it that I read. But I think an affinity with a place is a legitimate connection. I feel like I'd have to, if he's making some satiric point about that, I have to politely disagree. I mean, maybe we would have a lot fewer wars on this planet if we could all take some steps back from our intense attachments to places. But like we were all nomadic peoples back before agriculture. That's in our blood, in our DNA. There's still room, but I still have out the Everett Rose and C. Gregory Crampton books, which some could go in here. Actually, I'm going to add a place names video to it. So these are just little sub-discussions that I feel like came out of looking at these books. But like, that's a lot of books on one topic. What the heck? You're sick, man. You got a problem. You're a real freak. It's a place that pulls me back. I feel so strangely connected to it. Weird thing. When I was on my trip, toward the end of the trip was the northernmost reaches of Cataract and Narrow Canyons and Mill Crag Bend all up there. It was wild. I spent this great 2 or 3 days with this river rafting group while they were camping on this big beach. And I was following the shoreline up in these far northern reaches, back where John Wesley Powell was all drifting down. French-Canadian trappers before that in the 1830s. You know, centuries and centuries of indigenous settlement. That's the most messed up book I own. Place name's New Mexico. As long as it doesn't have like mold or anything. Come on, just say it. We're all thinking it. No one with this many Lake Powell books deserves to live. It should be illegal to have this many Lake Powell Glen Canyon books. Kids are starving somewhere. Look at me, I've got all these Lake Powell Glen Canyon books. My priorities are all out of whack. Something is really wrong. How did it get to this point? And in my old house, it was more than this. It's going to be a real creative puzzle to fit much of all this back in. But I like a neatly Tetris shelf these days. One of the stackings on the bottom. That's pretty good. Ooh, that's good. I don't love that Sherlock Holmes up there, but the best. And there's a spot to just easily add more if I get more on the topic. Nonfiction paperback. Overflow. Love it, love it, love it now. I've looked at all these books if you go back through the old videos. Who has seen them? Maybe if you listen to tens of hours about somebody just talking about books, it starts to become like the waves of the ocean. You start to see patterns. The motion of the stars. And it could be talking about anything. Power Rangers or whatever. Different rocks. Fashion stuff. You know, it's that Blakean state again. That's a Chumbawamba lyric. That's a good lyric. And that's my memoir I've been working on for 15 years. Book 1 to be done this year. Ambitious 60 chapter multi-form work. It's absolutely broken me. Well, anyway, I started to tell some anecdote earlier. I signed a permission slip for my son to get a tattoo. Anodyne has 40. My oldest daughter, she was telling me, she's all, some are small. She is into it. She has more every time I see her, I feel like. Anodyne's so punk. How's my kid so cool? And she was like, you were the rebellious kid of Mormons. I'm the rebellious kid of you and Mom. Anyway, they're getting a biblical angel, almost straight out of Nope. A great Jordan Peele movie. But it's covered in eyes. There's more eyes than that one. More like the biblical description. But 4 of the eyes are the eye colors of their siblings, and they have photos of their siblings' eyes that they're incorporating. That's pretty cool. Like, y'all are poetic freaks. And Hagen was all, I'm still waiting for that book that'll change my life. I gotta get that to him. I'm tempted to give him The Alchemist, because I think a Follow Your Dreams message is really good. But I'm also tempted to give him Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. On a fictional level, I think A Tree Grows in Brooklyn and The Brothers Karamazov are full of life. On a non-fiction level, Dancing in the Streets by Barbara Ehrenreich is really powerful and makes you do something with your life. And here Marx can be pretty enlivening. This is a single author's case. All right, so this is the last of just videos about Glen Canyon, Lake Powell, though there are going to be 3 other relevant subject piles discussed in 3 other videos. C. Gregory Crampton, Place Names Guides, Everett Rose. Waiting outside is crazy. Well, I think looking at a single place is really interesting. Zooming in. What's up with the world? Oh yeah, I was going to show you my chapter. Let me do that. Prismo, how are you so cute? Oh, you were reading Jitterbug Perfume. That's great. I love reading books at the same time as my cats because then we can talk about it. Yeah, we're the Kitty Human Book Club, me and Prismo and Squirrel. It's pretty good. It's a good book club. We have some strict bylaws. No sass. That's fun. Keep shedding to a minimum. Prismo struggles with that one, but we love her. Prismo, the public wants to know, do you ever get tired of your claws snagging on blankets? Those eyes, don't you see intelligence there? Might be kitty intelligence. I hate when all internet videos about cats are like 1 brain cell. I'm like, respect your cats. You're just showing your ignorance. They're very intelligent creatures. They probably have laser powers we don't know about. They'll laser you. I forgot to raise the shelf. Okay. So now I can fit all the ones from over there. I just put them there. Squirrel. See, I made these little corners with, once in a while shelves fall, so I put record crates in there, milk crates. Well, the cats don't love them. They go in them once in a while. I thought I was giving them little extra hidey places in a small place. This one's had some use. But I'm just here to say now, use it or lose it, kitties. This would be not the most convenient shelf over in this corner, but sometimes you need the realty. What's wrong, Squirrel? Hey, that's a good movie. Saw that in 2001 on the hike across the country, and we listened to the soundtrack all the time. It's got the guy from Fountains of Wayne, doing some of the songwriting, and Adam Duritz, too, from Counting Crows. Wow. I'm getting tired. I don't know why. I get to fill in the week. Worried about paying all the bills. What's up, Prismo? There's going to be a 3rd cat around here when my daughter Anodyne's cat comes to stay while she goes to a German language boot camp in the Gila before moving to Germany as an exchange student. Sweet Pea is one of Prismo's other kids. She's coming back. This will be her 3rd reunion. I'm convinced that's the Los Pinos Mountains right there. Ocotillo doesn't grow everywhere, but it would grow with abundance down there. It looks long and low, and it looks like where the Manzanos become the Los Pinos to me. You can see the Los Pinos Mountains in the background of the opening of 2010, The Odyssey Continues, which I think is a very good sequel. That's interesting. I wish there was a 3rd in that series, adapting the other book.